And now for the next person, for the next guest. Ambassador David Friedman played a historic role in the strengthening and the bond between the United States and the States of Israel. As the former United States ambassador to Israel, he was a key figure in some of the most significant diplomatic achievements of recent years, including recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and signing the Abraham Accords. It is my great pleasure to invite Ambassador David Friedman to the stage for a special interview. Can you hear me now? Yes. So many questions and not so much time. Only 10 minutes. Okay. Let's start maybe with maybe something that here in Israel people always speak about but not always understand about. What do you feel about the arguments that people are making towards Trump administration these days, trying to portray it as an administration that has roots of anti-Semitism?
The American?
Yes.
Well, look, I think the best way to answer it is to look at the facts. We had 16 months since October the 7th under the prior administration. We've had about 75 days under the current administration. Under the current administration, we have cut off funding to the most, on the one hand, the most elite, but on the other hand, the most vile. Did you take another mic?
Yes.
We've cut off hundreds of millions of dollars to the most elite, but at the same time, the most anti-Semitic universities on campus. We have begun deporting illegal aliens who hate Jews and advocate for the destruction of Israel. We have, and this is a bigger point, because when you think about all the people who are in the business of fighting anti-Semitism, there are many, many NGOs, there are many organizations, there are many people who commit their lives to it, and they're all very good people and have enormously good intentions. But a government can do in 2 months more than any organization can do in its lifetime. And so when we talk about the importance of a bipartisan fight against anti-Semitism, which of course I endorse, and I, as my predecessor said, I condemn anti-Semitism on the right and on the left. I'm an equal opportunity condemner of anti-Semitism.
You're alluding to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, none of them are any good on the right. On the left, I don't like any of these anti-Semites, and I'm not shy about it. But the government, the United States government or the government of France or the government of any other country, has the power to rein in anti-Semitism in a much more effective way. And you know, people say, well, you know, the governments are not in the business of changing the way people think. That's true, but you know, to my thinking, most people who are, you know, anti-Semites, most of these people running around, we're not going to win their hearts and minds because they don't have hearts and they don't have minds. So, you know, how are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them, we can put them in jail, we can make their lives miserable, we can cut off their funding, and that's what the Trump administration is doing for the first time.
And how do you feel about the way that the Israeli media cover the Trump administration and this specific subject?
I don't want to insult the Israeli media, but I don't spend that much time listening to it, to be honest with you. And certainly not on issues relating to America.
Because?
You know, I spent 4 years in government where every word that I said was put under a microscope and analyzed. And I was the subject of a lot of Israeli media, and so I obviously knew whether what was reported was true or not. And let's just say that the scorecard was not terribly impressive.
when we speak about fighting anti-Semitism, and you mentioned some of the things that the Trump administration is doing, and you said that you can't affect people's mind, but at the end of the day, we want to ask what these actions will do as part of fighting anti-Semitism.
Well, let me tell you whose minds we need to affect. Okay, this is important. I don't pretend to think I can change anybody's mind outside the Jewish community, but the Jewish people themselves, we have to change our own hearts and minds, and I think those are all up for grabs right now. And look, you know, people talk about a war against anti-Semitism, but, you know, before you start a war, you know, you got to know what you're fighting for, right? Why are we going to war? And you know, when they bring Israeli soldiers into the army, the first place they take them is to the Kotel. Why? Not so that they're going to pray. They take them to the Kotel so they'll understand that they are part of a continuum of history that began 3,500 years ago. And they're part of that continuum, and they can't let us down because they're part of that Jewish history. And Jewish people need to know that. I mean, like, speaking personally, you know, I could leave the Jewish community in America. Nobody would know. You know, I'd change my last name. I'd go live someplace else. You know, I don't look Jewish. I don't sound Jewish. I don't have an accent, you know. But I would cut off my arm before I would do that, okay? Because that's in me. And that's not in every Jew in America. That's not even close. That's not even in 20% of the Jews in America. And we have to get that internalized more within the United States. That's the way we'll win the war against anti-Semitism, when Jews know what they're fighting for.
When we signed the Abraham Accords, if you compare the anti-Semitism that you see in US campuses to what you see in the countries of the Abraham Accords, where do you think there is more problem?
Well, listen, I can tell you because I've been, you know, focusing very carefully on it the last few years. Think about, let's just pick, I think, the first one of our partners, which was the United Arab Emirates. Now, every person in the United Arab Emirates is getting their news from Al Jazeera, right? So they're watching day in and day out that Israel is killing women and children. That's the reporting every single day. And if ever there was an easy excuse for a country, for the Emirates to call the Israelis and say, you know what, guys, it was a good idea, but it's too much. We can't take it. Our entire population is moving against us. And it didn't happen. And it didn't happen for an important reason, because in the Emirates, if you ask them, what's the Abraham Accords about? It's about the common battle that Israel and the Emirates and other moderate countries are facing, the common battle against radical Islamism. All right, it's the same battle in America, it's the same battle in the Emirates, the same battle in France, it's the same battle all around the world. And the Abraham Accords is going to hold, because not only did nothing occur in that war to cause anyone to reject the battle against radical Islamism, just the opposite. It caused every rational country to double down in their commitment to end radical Islamism.
And where does Saudi Arabia stand today for subject?
Next year we'll have that conversation. It's ongoing. It's ongoing, and I'm optimistic.
You're optimistic.
Yes.
But we do, I mean, we're out of the time, but still I have to somehow try and get some politics answer. Do you think the immigration plan of Trump is going to work out?
I think if it doesn't work out, I think America is in a lot of trouble. Look, we're not quite yet where Europe is. No offense to Europe, but
immigration plan from Gaza.
Oh, the immigration from Gaza. I love it. I love it, and I think it's doable. By the way, I think it's doable. I think, by the way, it's doable for two reasons. It's doable for two reasons. Number one, you know, the simple reason is that Gaza is uninhabitable. It's got unexploded ordnance, and it's got buildings that are about to collapse. People can't live there. So that's the practical reason. But the other reason, even maybe more important, the only way that Israel really wins the war, the way that radical Islamists, whether it's ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Hamas, the way they calibrate winning and losing is when they lose their land, and they have to lose their land.
Ambassador David Friedman, thank you very much. Thank you.